it's Alex, your horror hound. I'm sitting here with Peaches today. And yesterday, no, it was like 3 days ago at this point, I saw Insidious Out of the Further. Now, excuse me, I've been working a ton. I had a friend in town. He got sick at the end of his visit, so this review's a little bit delayed. But I wanted to make a review for this movie for two main reasons. Not just because I'm a horror channel and I saw the new Insidious movie, but because I actually thought this was pretty interesting, even if it wasn't like that different for an Insidious movie. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna give my context as an Insidious fan. The first Insidious is one of my favorite horror movies, like top 50-ish, I'd say. And I would say it is my second favorite James Wan movie, next to *Malignant*. So of his like iconic Insidious, Saw, and Conjuring, the three big franchises he started, the Insidious has always been my favorite, the first one. Now, the second one is a movie that my oldest friend William loved like so much. He introduced me to the first Insidious when we were teenagers, and but he was like, but the second one's even better. I thought it was good. I never thought it was as good as the first, and I've seen it 4 times now, according to my letterbox, and it's funny. Shout out my letterbox. I'll drop that down below. I love if you just follow me, drop a comment or something. I love hearing people found me here, and I'd love to follow you back. But I uh, I say all this to say that on Letterboxd, I can see I've seen Insidious 2 4 times, and the rating has dropped from a 4 to a 3.5 to a 3 to a 2.5, and it's like it got back up to a like 3 in my mind on the most recent rewatch. It's just not a great movie, admittedly. It has a lot of solid moments, and the strengths of it are the family. But the flaws and issues of that movie permeate the third and fourth film and are found way worse there, way more boring. But what I find interesting is that the third and fourth, the pendulum swings from family drama. The second one's a family drama as much as it's a horror movie, to being much more horror focused films. The third one has a lot of family drama between the girl and, her dead mom, and her dad being Dermot Mulroney, and her fraught relationship with him, but now that she's in a wheelchair, she has to be taken care of by him. But I've always felt like the third and fourth were kind of like, hey, we got to make these like teen horror movies. So I don't get as much out of them on rewatch. I've seen the third one twice. I rewatched it yesterday. I've only seen the fourth one, The Lost Key, once, admittedly, and that was 5 years ago. But I've always felt like they were more horror focused without having the family there. And then the fifth film was a family drama again. And as much as that one did not seem to resonate with a lot of people, I've seen it twice and gave it 3 stars both times. It's a family drama, but it's solid family drama. I would put it right below the second one, just because it doesn't have necessarily the James Wan sauce to it, but it has all the Patrick Wilson sauce you could want, and it's a fun enough movie, with like a compelling enough family drama story. But this one was a much more horror focused family horror movie, because of course you got all the trauma and all the backstory of, oh, my mom gave me this trauma that I don't want to give to my daughter. That's like perfect Insidious setup, and the family drama elements are there, but the vibe of the movie, the tone of the movie, the energy of the movie is much more horror focused. The pendulum is swung back to that from The Red Door, and I'm not going to complain. I think that both movies are very similar in quality, but they give me very different experiences, even while being the same Insidious vibe and bag of tricks. It's a very interesting tightrope to walk. But after the fifth one, I thought that it was a tightrope we wouldn't walk anymore, to be honest. Especially because people didn't like it as much, it seemed. It wasn't a huge hit or anything. I was like, I think that was it. That felt like a pretty solid, definitive ending for this franchise, and I enjoyed it. Nope, we are back. This one takes place canonically just a few months down the road, Elise says. And I like that. I like that it establishes itself as a pre-2020 movie. It's a completely different world we live in since COVID. So when movies take the time and the choice to say that they're in 2019, something like Challengers, for example, it actually elevates the movie, and I appreciate it. I can buy into that reality a little bit, because they don't have to acknowledge all the asinine shit that's happened in our world since then. That's just a fun little detail I noticed. Another fun detail I noticed is the whole thing takes place in Pittsburgh. The opening location drop is Pittsburgh, and then it says 20 years later it takes place at the same house. This is a Pittsburgh horror movie, just kind of like The Conjuring Part 4. I would also put The Conjuring Part 4 right on the same level as Insidious The Red Door and Insidious Out of the Further. It's a movie I'd give a 3 out of 5. Not to spoil my rating, but that's why I'd give this. It's a totally fine horror movie that I had a very good enough time with, had a nice autumnal vibe. There was, you know, brown leaves blowing, there was some spooky imagery, the old people looked awesome. The demon guy in this looked cool. And I really liked his little story or like motivation to get out of the further and how he was commanding and enlisting the help of all the other demons of the further to help him. I'm going to get into a little spoilers now because I just want to talk about certain elements of the movie. So if you haven't seen it, you don't want to hear about specific details, this is the time I'd click off. I already gave my rating. But if you do want to go a little bit deeper into the further, oh wow, she's grabbing my hand. That's so cute. I'm gonna say that I thought it was fun that this was a Jason takes Manhattan, Jason goes to hell type. It does not do what it says on the tin. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, Sometimes it's like great to go see a movie that does what it says right on it, the cover, and you're getting that experience. I got that yesterday. I saw Jason Statham's Mutiny, and that movie was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was Die Hard on a boat, and I had a great time watching Jason Statham do that. This was marketed and sold as Insidious Out of the Further. Everything from the Further's coming into real life. I did not watch the entire trailer because it hadn't been playing at my local theater. I had to go out of my way to a different theater to see this, actually. I don't know why they didn't play it at the Alamo at Sloan Lake here in Denver, but uh, that's all to say. The shots I did see were like all from a dream sequence in the movie. You know the one I'm saying. It's all from this like, oh, this could happen if we don't stop it from happening. And whenever your movie's character's motivation is to stop what the title of the movie is and to stop what, you know, I've only seen the film marketed as and what I personally was expecting from the movie was funny to me. Because I'm not someone that hates Jason Takes Manhattan, but it is a movie that should be called Jason Takes a Boat Ride to Manhattan. This movie should be called Insidious. They're trying to get out of the further. Because they're trying to get out of the further. They don't. They don't really get out of the further. I like the element of like them possessing the old people bodies, like that element of them getting out of the further. That was cool. That was great. The old people were creepy in an effective way. And there were two really effective sequences in this. One was just that all three of those awful gross out dentist sequences, that was like really nasty to watch. The other one would be the backrooms pillow fort sequence is what I would call it. One of those things whenever you look on Letterboxd too, and then you're like, yep, somebody beat you to it. Like that's one of the top reviews. But it really is the top like sequence of this movie is a sequence of a woman crawling through the seemingly never ending pillow fort. And some creepy people are waiting for her in there. Doesn't have as effective a punch to the jump scare in the end. As a matter of fact, I don't think any of the scares in the I don't think this movie was scary whatsoever. But I I watch a bunch of like French extremity movies. Like I was just watching Inside the other day. I'm watching Triangle right now. I've seen way worse than Insidious Out of the Further. So I think that's why like not even for a second did any part of this movie have me even for a moment on edge, which is a little disappointing because I do think the first Insidious is pretty scary. I think the first Insidious is one of those examples of like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, like the way I'm talking about the two elements that make an Insidious movie what it is, family drama and, weird going into the further possession entity horror. The first one is the only one that actually balances that to a perfect calibration. But those are both elements you need to have in some way in all of these movies, and I think this one does. It's a little bit heavier on the horror side, and that's not a problem by me, especially after the last one. Like I said, I had a good time at the movies. This one doesn't scare me being all the way horror, but it entertained me. It certainly did. And the ending, whenever she teleports them all back into the further with her house, like that was really cool. I really liked that. Um, Huge scale too, like teleporting a house into the further is something that hasn't, like nothing on that scale has been done in this franchise before. So that was at least like that perked me up in my seat moment to go, oh, this is different. So like even though the movie very much so fits the Insidious vibe and template, and it doesn't exactly do what it says it's gonna do, I had a very good time with this movie. I'd give it a solid recommendation, 3 out of 5. Good Insidious, another good Insidious. My fourth favorite in the franchise, probably, right after the first, second, and fifth. So yeah, I had a good time at the movies. Let me know what you thought of Insidious Out of the Further if you saw it. Peaches, sitting here in my lap, she probably would have said, yeah. So that's my thoughts on Insidious Out of the Further. Let me know what you thought below. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. God bless.